Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a horror film, Ghost Lab. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film begins with Dr. Wee waking up from a call from his friend, Dr. Glow. Wee rejects the call and looks around him, only to be frightened as he is surrounded by hospital dummies. Wee immediately runs out, only to see Glow laughing with the nurses as they hear his scream. Wee expresses his dislike of Glow's ghost prank on him when one of the nurses interrupts them. She says that there was a man with a third-degree burn in the emergency room the other day. His wife cheated on him, so he put himself on fire. When he reached the hospital, his skin was crisped, and the whole room stank like burnt flesh. His head was also split in half, and he wailed until he died on his bed. This immediately catches Glow's attention, as he believes in ghosts and other paranormal things, unlike Wee, who is skeptical about them. Later that day, Wee is in his mom's room in the hospital, checking up on her. Glow watches his friend outside the room with his girlfriend, Mai. The two talk about Wee and his mother as they watch them. Glow reveals that Wee's mother has been sick for almost a decade, and that's why Wee became a doctor. Later that night, while the guard roams and checks the hospital grounds, he finds something terrifying in the morgue. Meanwhile, Glow and Wee are at the vending machine, arguing whether ghosts exist. Glow believes they exist, but Wee tells different scientific explanations opposing Glow. Wee then changes the subject and orders Glow to help him carry the foods he got. However, Glow suddenly drops his coffee as he looks behind Wee's back. Wee thinks that Glow is just playing another ghost prank with him until he looks back to see the burnt patient the nurse mentioned earlier. Wee drops his food from shock, but he composes himself and tries to take a picture. However, the patient does not appear on the camera. Glow slowly approaches the patient when Wee suddenly takes a flash picture, causing the patient to scream at him. Wee falls from shock and fear, so Glow immediately goes to him. But then they quickly notice that the patient is mysteriously gone. Instead of being scared, Glow screams in delight as they have encountered a real ghost. Wee is still in shock. They check the camera footage the following day, which only captured them and not the spirit. Wee is still skeptical despite the encounter, so Glow challenges him to find a way to prove ghosts' existence. Glow takes Wee to a room in the abandoned hospital employees' housing building, where he reveals that he has been investigating ghosts for years. Glow shares that when he was in second grade, his dad died. 1 week after his wake, Glow went downstairs, quickly drank water, and walked back, only to find a soccer ball by the stairs. Glow kicked the ball away when it suddenly rolled back to him. Glow gasped in shock when he found his dead father in front of him when he looked up. Since that day, Glow has wondered and investigated ghosts, and last night's encounter even pushed him to research more. Glow believes that he was born to prove that ghosts are real, so Wee agrees to work with him to find a way. Glow named their investigation the Northern Lights Quest, symbolically a pursuit to communicate with ghosts. Glow is very enthusiastic about their research because he wants their work to be published in the world's most famous research journal. Glow then shares the field research he has done in the last 5 years. He has interviewed every person he knows who has encountered ghosts. He performed every superstitious ritual to see ghosts. He even went to famous haunted places, like cemeteries and abandoned buildings. But with those efforts, he never saw a ghost. Patients die in the hospital every day, and they encountered a ghost last night. However, cameras cannot capture spirits, so they need to find a way to make ghosts appear more, and to let people see ghosts the way they did. But first, they need spirits as their participants. So as a start, they sit by the vending machine. But 1 week has passed, and there is no progress. Just when Wee starts to think of another method, the trash in front of them starts to move on its own, like someone is pulling it. This makes Glow realize that they forgot about poltergeists, which are invisible ghosts responsible for loud noises and objects being thrown around. Glow plays the CCTV footage he gathered for the past weeks, revealing poltergeist actions. A wheelchair rolling on its own on the hospital hallways, elevator doors closing and opening, chairs, cabinets, and files are thrown. So the two roam around the hospital rooms until they find a wheelchair. The two are confused to see the wheelchair, but then they see it travel from the end of the room to the front of them. Shortly after, more wheelchairs appear as someone pushes them. The files begin to fall from the shelves, and the room temperature drops. This encourages them to continue as they finally have progressed with their research, but their evidence is not solid yet, so they spend hours and days reviewing Glow's interviews. Later that day, the two friends meet up at the abandoned building, where Wee shares with Glow his idea. Wee suggests they observe someone whose loved one has recently died, as ghosts appear to someone they have unfinished business with, like Glow's dad. However, no stranger will allow them to do that, so Glow thinks of another way. He goes after a cancer patient student and romances her. The virgin patient is in the final stage of cancer, but she has never dated anyone, and if she dies having romantic feelings with Glow, she will surely come back to him after her death. Wee thinks this way goes too far, but Glow does not care. He believes it is a win-win for the patient and them as they get benefits, and his curiosity is unstoppable. Their discussion gets interrupted when Wee receives a call from hospital staff about his mother. Glow immediately goes after Wee as he frantically runs to his mother's room, where a doctor informs him that they resurrected her, but she remains unresponsive. No oxygen has reached her brain for 7 minutes, which means she is brain dead. After that, Wee becomes emotional as he bids goodbye to his mother before removing her life support. Glow installs a camera in the room after Wee's mother has been released in case she comes back. He stays with Wee as he mourns his mother's death. Later that night, while the men are asleep, Wee wakes up from the strong wind. He looks at the windows and sees his mother standing behind the curtains. Although shocked, Wee walks towards her, causing Glow to wake up from his movements. Wee becomes confused as he finds his mother crying while mumbling something. We cannot understand what she says, so he reaches out to her, but she suddenly vanishes. Glow helps Wee clean up the room and transfer their belongings to Wee's house the following day. That was the first and last time we saw his mother, and he was left with a handful of questions in his head. So as he wants things to be done, Wee proposes to Glow that he will cross over to the supernatural world. Once he gets to the other side, he will return to Glow to finish their experiment. Expectedly, Glow disagrees as he thinks that Wee is suicidal because of his mom. Wee argues that he has no one left since his mom died, but Glow cannot let him do it because he is the one who got Wee into the research. So Glow volunteers himself as he believes he should end the investigation he started. As they reach an impasse, the two let the coin decide who will cross over to the other side, and the result reveals that Wee wins the game. So Wee informs him Glow that he will write a suicide note, saying he got depressed after his mom's death. Glow needs to pretend that he found Wee's body, so as to keep their investigation a secret. The following day, Wee records himself as evidence of his journey to the other side. Glow hugs his friend tightly and promises that he will work hard to communicate with Wee once it's done. After that, Glow waits outside as Wee takes the gun from the cabinet and prepares to kill himself. But he cannot do it, as he finally realizes what his mother said to him. His mother was crying because they became obsessed with their experiments. Glow returns to the room and finds Wee crying while mumbling about his mom. Glow comforts Wee and then suddenly takes the gun to his mouth and pulls the trigger. The scene then changes to Wee facing a crowd of journalists as their experiment is featured in the famous journal. Wee presents to the audience the ghost of Glow standing right beside him. Gasps of surprise and camera flashes fill the room, but they cannot capture Glow in the picture. Mai then interrupts him and questions Wee if their experiment of the afterlife is worth Glow's life. Mai blames Wee for letting Glow kill himself just for the research he knows has uncertain results. Mai believes that Wee is a murderer, so she raises the gun she holds but suddenly kills herself. Wee wakes up and realizes that it is just a nightmare. He is still in the room where Glow started his research, which is now a mess as Wee became a problematic man. He started smoking and became tardy. He logs into Glow's laptop and updates that it has been 3 months since Glow's death, and there is still no contact from him. Later that day, Wee goes to Glow's funeral shrine, where Glow's mother talks about her son. It turns out Glow donated his body for educational purposes. However, the monks said that suicide is a grave sin, so she does everything to make him pure, so he can go to the afterlife. After visiting Glow's family, Wee meets Mai and helps her with Glow's remaining belongings. Mai asks Wee if he knows why Glow would kill himself, but to keep their experiment a secret, Wee has to lie to her. Later that night, Wee goes to the hospital rooftop and attempts to jump over as he has no reason to live. But then, as he falls to his death, Glow saves him by pulling his tie. Glow is a poltergeist, so we cannot see him, but it's the first time that Glow has made contact with him. Wee follows Glow to their room and asks him to show himself or do any poltergeist activity to communicate with him. As he logs Glow's first contact with him, Wee finds the pendulum swinging by itself. Wee then realizes that if he is in danger, it will boost Glow's energy. So to trigger Glow, Wee takes the paper cutter board and prepares to cut his pinky finger. However, a nurse interrupts him and asks him to sign schedules. After signing, Wee returns his finger on the board and prepares to cut it when Glow tosses it away. Wee laughs because his idea works out, but that is not all. Glow types hi to his laptop. The next day, Wee thinks of a way for Glow to continue their experiment. Before we jumped, Glow could not see anything, which means Soul's power increases when triggered by something. In their case, Wee's attempt to kill himself increased Glow's power. Wee needs to find ways to trigger Glow's power so Glow can appear physically. Suddenly, Glow types the word beach on the laptop, confusing Wee. Hopeful of finding answers, Wee visits Glow's family, where he finds a childhood picture of Glow with his parents at the local beach. Wee informs the family that Glow contacted him in a dream. Glow is a wandering ghost and cannot be reborn yet, as suicide is a grave sin. Glow's mother cries as she worries about her son, while Wee suddenly gets goosebumps. The kitchen lights start to flicker as Glow's mother cries. However, Glow's little sister cuts in and requests we to leave, as his words only cause pain to her mother. As we prepares to leave, he finds some words typed on his phone. So we lies and says that Glow said those words in his dream. Out of the blue, Glow's mother invites we to dinner, where she offers him Glow's favorite dish, Kakai curry. We taste the dish, and he is amazed by her cooking. Glow's mother then shares that Glow used to tell her that she could open her own restaurant because she is a fantastic cook. She did not buy it, so Glow challenged her and said that he would have we come over and taste her cooking, and he would say the same thing. For Glow, he knows that his mother belittles herself, but how could she raise her children alone if she is not a good mother? After dinner, we leaves home and talks to Glow, saying that the curry brought peace to his mother. Glow then types that he does not want to continue their experiment anymore because being worried about his loved ones is too painful. Glow then types that he sees the beach again, but this time more clearly. We asks if it is the beach in his hometown, but Glow types that it is time to go. We repeatedly calls Glow's name, but he is gone. 3 days have passed since Glow disappeared, and we is confused if all ghosts go through the same phase. So we puts his finger on the paper cutter board and counts down from 3. However, Glow does not appear, and we has cut off his pinky finger. We gets his wound treated by a colleague who thinks that we needs professional mental help for his stress. However, he stubbornly refuses and returns to the abandoned building, where he finds Mai standing at the stairways. Mai leaves the building, while we returns to the room, only to find that Glow's laptop is missing. Later that night, we goes to Mai's apartment and lies to her that Glow's laptop is locked, so the two attempt different passwords. But it remains locked, so we suggest taking the laptop to his IT friend. But Mai refuses, as she thinks we is lying and attempts to take it away. Mai then breaks down into tears and blames herself for not noticing that Glow was suicidal. We hugs Mai as he comforts her when he suddenly sees Glow opening an experiment vlog that will reveal the truth. We immediately shuts down the laptop before Mai can see it and leaves with it. As he gets inside the elevator, we confronts Glow for derailing their plan. But then, Glow types on his cell phone that he wants we to tell the truth to Mai. However, we still refuses as they have come so far, angering Glow. The elevator shuts down, and Glow repeatedly types that he wants we to tell the truth to Mai. The elevator stops in the middle of the floor, so we forcefully opens the door, desperately pulls himself up, and crawls his way out. The following night, we invites Mai to the abandoned building to talk about Glow. He gives her a drink before leaving to get something. He smokes on the rooftop and waits for a few minutes before returning to the room to find Mai asleep. It reveals that he drugged the drink and planned to use her as vengeance to trigger Glow. He sets up a camera and begins undressing Mai. Right then, Glow suddenly types stop. We laugh as he successfully triggers Glow to appear, but then he wants more. He wants Glow to reveal himself physically. So to taunt Glow even more, we molest Mai, but he is quickly removed from her. He taunts Glow repeatedly until he finally sees Glow's lower body behind the board. Glow finally reveals himself in front of Wee, but he is enraged and starts throwing things. Wee runs out from the room, but Glow uses his poltergeist powers to beat the smelly shit out of Wee until he's clean. Although injured, Wee still laughs, as his obsession overpowers his rationality. However, Glow is fed up, so he pushes Wee off the edge of the building. But then, Glow holds Wee's tie, stopping him from falling. But Wee taunts him again, so Glow lets go of the tie, causing Wee to fall to the ground. Wee screams in pain as his bones crack and his left foot dislocates. But he is not done, because he still records himself for the experiment. So Glow drags him around the building's ground to punish him even more. When Wee wants to use Glow's sister, Glow knocks him out and takes him to the morgue. Wee wakes up a few moments later, only to be terrified as the corpse of Glow removes himself from the body bag. He faces Wee, who is enthralled to see Glow returning to his body, and he decides to film Glow. However, Glow is furious, so he throws and beats Wee. Wee tries to defend himself, accidentally causing fire in the room, but Glow is much stronger, so he chokes Wee until he runs out of air. The scene then changes to a white place, with Glow saying to Wee that the experiment must stop. Glow's obsession got the best of him, making him forget about his family and Mai when he killed himself, and he does not want Wee to make the same mistake. Wee cries as Glow makes him realize that he did his best for him and his mom, but everything must come to an end. Glow then bids goodbye to continue his journey, letting Wee come to the living world. Wee becomes alive, while Glow finally gets to the afterlife as he is peace now. After recovering, Wee submits their research to the famous journal. However, the journal refuses to publish their work as it did not meet their requirements and expectations. Wee also deletes the file from Glow's laptop before giving it to Mai. Wee apologizes for his wrong acts, but Mai knows that they were emotionally unstable at that time. Mai then shares that the night she fell asleep in Wee's office, Glow visited in her dream. that were at the seaside, and there were northern lights in the sky as Mai saw Glow again. They did not say anything to each other, but it was enough to see Glow smiling to put her at peace. Also, she saw Glow holding a copy of the journal with Glow and Wee as the cover. Wee cries as he knows Glow's long-lasting dream to get his research published in the famous journal. The film ends with Wee deciding to live his life, not just for himself but also for Glow. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.